Saudi Arabia has sentenced 5 people to death for the killing of Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi. The Virginia resident was last seen entering the Saudi consulate in Istanbul last October. He was there to collect documents that would allow him to marry his Turkish fiancée. As she waited outside, Khashoggi was murdered. His body was reportedly dismembered and taken from the building. His remains have not been found. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has denied any knowledge of the operation. He received international condemnation because several Saudi agents involved in the killing worked directly for him. CBS News foreign correspondent Charlie D'Agata is following the story from our London bureau. Charlie, thank you for joining us. What can you tell us about what took place during this trial? I know that a lot of it was kept private.
Yes, well, Catherine, not a lot. And the reason we can't tell you a lot about what's happened is because the press weren't invited to it. The media was not invited. It was not transparent. It took place over a course of 11 months, almost a full year. There were something like 11 defendants who were on trial. 5 of those defendants, you said, have been sentenced to death. Another 3, a number of lengthy jail terms. None of the defendants has been identified. 2 of the senior top aides who were suspected of being implicated in this murder were exonerated. So what we're essentially looking at is that the hitmen have been found guilty, but possibly the people who organized that hit are relatively scot-free.
What has been the reaction to this ruling from the Washington Post to Khashoggi's family? I mean, a lot of differences here.
Well, there are a lot of differences. So we'll start with the Washington Post. He was a journalist, a columnist for the Washington Post. They were negative about it. They said the complete lack of transparency suggests that this is merely a sham trial, is what they called it. Those ultimately responsible, we know who they're referring to, at the highest level of the Saudi government, continued to escape responsibility for the brutal murder. The UN called it a mockery of justice. Amnesty International says the verdict is a whitewash that brings neither justice nor the truth for Jamal Khashoggi and his loved ones. Now, the positive side. Senior White House administration official says this is an important step in holding those responsible for this terrible crime accountable, and we encourage Saudi Arabia to continue with a fair and transparent judicial process. Khashoggi's son today tweeted, "We, the sons of the late Jamal Khashoggi, have been served justice."
So since so much of this was kept under wraps, Charlie, can you remind us of why Khashoggi was a target of the Saudi government in the first place?
Yes, well, it was at a time that continues, that the Saudi government was cracking down on dissidents. Now, Jamal Khashoggi was working for the Washington Post. He is a Saudi, but he's living in the United States. And he had been deeply critical of the Saudi royal family, which, of course, is the Saudi leadership there. So he and a number of people had been targeted. Now, the explanation from prosecutors today was that this is something, it wasn't necessarily a group that had gone rogue, but it was a snap decision. They were supposed to sort of extradite him. They were supposed to grab him and bring him back to Saudi Arabia. God knows what would have happened once they got him there. And this is something that went bad at the scene. So it wasn't an ordered assassination, they don't believe, or that's the story that they're putting forward and hope the world will accept. But it's not. As I've already said, there's been multi-criticism from all kinds of organizations calling it a mockery of justice, a sham, etc., partly because of the fact that it wasn't transparent. We don't know. We don't know the people that were implicated in this crime. None of the defendants have been named. Why were these 5 people sentenced to death, the other 3 given other sentences? And why were those top aides? This is where it becomes important, because this is where we are trying to run that trial, run that path back to the Crown Prince. Why were those top aides exonerated, saying that they didn't know what was going on?
That's exactly right. Well, I know you're going to continue to dig. Now, last year, the CIA concluded with high confidence that Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman ordered Khashoggi's assassination. The kingdom has repeatedly refuted that claim. Now, what does this development mean for the Crown Prince himself?
Well, the Crown Prince and the royal family would like to draw a line under this. I think if they hope for that to happen, that they're going to have to come through with some more facts and some more details about this investigation and the trial that took place. Now, when I say it took place in near total secrecy, there were some U.S. diplomats who had attended that trial. There were some Turkish diplomats. Remember, this happened on Turkish soil. That attended that trial. There are also some members of Khashoggi's family who attended. They are not allowed to speak about what happened there. I think if the Saudi royal family, including the Crown Prince, want to convince the world that, justice was served, they're going to have to give better details or more details about exactly what happened to Jamal Khashoggi on that afternoon, and more importantly, what everybody knew about it.
This is an interesting time for Saudi Arabia because it seems to be trying to put some sort of a PR move out at times. This comes just after supermodels, actors, social media influencers were reportedly paid to attend and post about a music festival in the Saudi capital of Riyadh. So what image is the kingdom looking to project to the world here, and how does that ruling impact what Saudi Arabia is trying to do?
I was just looking at that concert on the monitor here. I mean, this is what this new crown prince is trying, I wouldn't say new thinking crown prince is trying to project. A modern Saudi Arabia. The fact that women can drive cars now has been a big deal in Saudi Arabia. Having people project these images of the concerts that taken place, people who have influence, the Instagrammers of the world, trying to show that Saudi Arabia is moving ahead with the times. But there are two Saudi Arabias happening here. This is a completely private, monarchy-run organization and country that is not welcome to outsiders, outside press. We can't follow some of the things that we would like to follow. So there's the image of Saudi Arabia. That's one thing that we can see. And then what's going on behind the scenes.
Well put. Charlie D'Agata, thank you.
Thank you.